As we know from Hoyoverse's presentation in the livestream back then, there are a lot of characters that will appear on the newest planet, Amphoreus, and one of the characters that is rumored to appear in version 3.3 is Cipher. It's undeniable that this character does not get more attention, because by design, this character looks a little less striking compared to other characters such as Castorice and Mydei. But who would have thought, guys? It turns out that Cipher has a pretty cool kit, you know? Even in some of her latest kit rumors, she is said to be a very flexible character that can be placed on multiple teams, including the current meta teams, namely the Acheron and Feixiao teams. Can Cipher be a complementary character for those two teams? So without waiting any longer, I'm Hoyoverse and let's get right into the discussion of Cipher's early kit. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here is a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 23% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 3000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. Okay, now we will move on to the basic information about this character. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you that the kit I am showing in this video is an early release kit, which means that there's still a high chance that this kit will undergo some changes in the future, okay? Cipher is a character that is rumored to be released in the upcoming version 3.3, along with Hyacinth, which is also rumored to be released in this version. Cipher is a quantum type with the Annihilative Path, which can briefly help improve the performance of some current meta teams, namely Acheron and Feixiao teams, with her follow-up attack kit while giving debuffs to the enemies. One of the main uniqueness of this character is that it can store the damage done to the enemy, then issue all the stored damage to the enemy we choose. So this character is suitable for use against boss monsters that have a lot of HP. Okay, without further ado, we will begin a brief discussion of the initial kit of Cipher version 3.3. We will start with the talent section, because I personally think this is one of the most important parts of her kit. The effect of Cipher's talent is that every ally that gets a turn, if there is no enemy that currently has a debuff called Foretold, then Cipher will randomly give the debuff to the enemy, but will prioritize the enemy that has the most HP. Now when an enemy with a Foretold debuff is attacked by an ally and gains damage, Cipher will enter a special mode called Wealth Bone and store the total damage gained from the enemy excluding true damage. Now another effect of this talent is that whenever an enemy with the Foretold debuff is attacked, Cipher will make a follow-up attack on the enemy and produce quantum damage equal to the attack Cipher has. The number of follow-up attacks she can make with this talent is reset when she performs the ultimate. Okay, at a glance, if we peel back a little bit about her talent kit, this kit certainly benefits some existing characters, like Feixiao, who gets her ultimate stack when there are allies attacking the enemy. The more allies that can use follow-up attacks, the faster Feixiao's stack will fill up. Unfortunately, we still don't know the exact number of follow-up attacks that can be given to the enemy before being reset by her ultimate. Even so, this talent will be very useful, because at least she will always provide follow-up attacks every time our allies attack. It can store the damage that is dealt to enemies that have Foretold debuffs, which means that if we use a follow-up attacks that can attack the enemy many times, the stored damage will be even greater, right? Well, after briefly discussing her talent, we will return to discussing Cipher's skill. Her skill can give the target enemy a debuff called Foretold, and then deal damage to the target and enemies around her. In fact, the effect of this skill is similar to the effect of the talent we just discussed. But unlike the talent that gives Foretold debuff randomly, her skill gives Foretold debuff to the target we really want, so that the damage output we produce will be more efficient. Now we move on to her ultimate. Cipher's ultimate will deal quantum damage equal to Cipher's attack to a single enemy target, then produce true damage, which we have stored when we enter Wealthbound status. The true damage is distributed to the primary target and surrounding enemies. After using this ultimate, the amount of damage we have stored will be erased, and the number of follow-up attacks that Cipher can launch through the foretold mechanism will be reset. Honestly, this ultimate is also one of Cipher's highlighted kits, because it will release all the damage we have previously stored through the Wealthbound mechanism in the form of true damage. As we already know, true damage is a form of damage that is not affected by any mechanism, so the damage we will inflict on the enemy will be equal to the damage we have previously stored. Another fact of this ultimate is, similar to 3B, when we use this ultimate, the number of Cipher's follow-up attacks will be reset, which means we have to quickly issue her ultimate so that the follow-up attack stack continues to be filled. Next, we will discuss Cipher's no less cool technique. When using this technique, Cipher will enter a state of stealth that cannot be detected by the enemy. Cipher will receive a movement speed boost and will automatically collect treasures that we pass. When she enters the battle, she will produce damage on all enemies and save the damage we produce in Wealthbound mode. This technique is actually quite interesting, guys. Even though it doesn't have a significant effect in the overworld, at least in this mode we can get treasures faster just by walking through them. That's pretty cool, right? Okay, now we will move on to another interesting part, which is her traces. When Cipher is in the battle, all enemies will get a defense reduction. This effect is quite interesting because this debuff is a passive debuff that will be active throughout the battle. So the damage we do throughout the battle will be maximized. Then the second trace effect. The Wealthbound status will store additional total damage received by enemies around enemies who have foretold debuffs. The effect of trace is quite interesting. Although at this time we still don't know how much damage can be stored by this trace. But with this trace, it means that even if we attack enemy targets in a blast, Wealthbound can store all the damage we give to the 3 targets, although not 100%, so the damage storage by Wealthbound status will be even greater. And the last is the third trace, which has the effect of increasing Cipher's follow-up attack. Then the storability of Wealthbound will continue to increase based on Cipher's critical rate. Okay, one small note here is that since the storability of Wealthbound can be further increased based on Cipher's critical rate status, it's clear that Cipher needs a high critical rate status to be able to maximize her kit. Now that we've talked about her traits, let's move on to Cipher's Eidolon, which is one of the highlights of this character. For Eidolon 1, it has the effect of increasing the damage stored when enemies who have foretold debuffs are attacked by allies. Then when Cipher attacks the enemy with any kit, the enemy will receive a debuff that increases the damage the enemy receives. Honestly, this effect is really interesting, guys. In fact, at first glance, this effect looks quite ordinary, I know. But with Eidolon 1, it's clear that Cipher can be paired with Acheron. Because in addition to Cipher being a nightly character that is needed for the Acheron team, Cipher can easily provide debuffs every time she attacks with any kit, especially attacks that come from her follow-up attack, which can be triggered many times as long as allies attack enemies that have foretold debuffs. Interesting, right? Then for Eidolon 2, having the effect of Cipher's follow-up attack gets increased damage, plus Cipher gets energy after triggering the follow-up attack. Eidolon 2 is also quite interesting, guys. Although at this point, we do not know how much damage increase we get from Eidolon 2, but the extra energy we get from Eidolon 2 makes us faster and more consistent to be able to issue her ultimate, which can reset the number of follow-up attacks. Then for Eidolon 4, when allies attack an enemy with a foretold debuff, Cipher will deal 1 additional quantum damage equal to the amount of Cipher's attack and deals damage to the target enemy and the enemies around it. Obviously, the effect of Eidolon 4 increases the damage output of Cipher herself. So with Acheron 4, the follow-up attack team such as Feixiao team will get a drastic increase in damage output, because this team can attack the enemy multiple times. So this effect can be triggered frequently. And the last one is Acheron 6, which increases Cipher's damage. Then after using her ultimate, Cipher will receive a portion of the damage stored by the Wealthbound status. The effect of Acheron 6 also feels pretty good, guys. Instead of losing the damage we did, we can save some of it and increase it for the next ultimate attack. So the next ultimate attack will definitely be much bigger. So with Eidolon 6, the longer the fight, the more damage you get from Cipher's ultimate. Of course, this effect is absolutely good. And the last part of this video is about Cipher's Lightcone signature. Her signature can increase critical rate. Then when the user uses skills to deal damage, the enemy receiving the attack will get a defense reduction debuff. And if the attack is a critical hit, the defense reduction from the resulting debuff will be greater. Directly, the effect of this Lightcone is a bit similar to the 4-star Lightcone called Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. Apart from having the same path, these two Lightcones have a similar effect, which is to give a defense reduction debuff to the enemy. In addition to Cipher's signature Lightcone, it can also provide the critical rate bonus that she needs. But the fundamental difference is that Cipher's signature Lightcone has a stronger effect and certainly a longer duration than Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat, since the Lightcone has a relatively short duration that lasts for only one turn. What do you think? Okay guys, I think that's all for now. What do you think about her kit? Do you wanna pull her on the next version? Please leave any comments down below. And don't forget to check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.